Hello, Gory Hole. Welcome to Gory B Movie. Tonight I am joined by my very dashing husband, Danny Knightmare from Horror Addicts.
Yeah. How you doing? Blessed be. That's what you say
Thanks
here,
for
right?
getting into the culture here, babe. Thanks. And tonight we're going to be talking about Scream. Specifically, we're going to be ranking all 5 movies. And I'm very happy to see some of my stew friends in the chat. My friends from the stew train. Oh, it's loud.
Loud? Drinking like
Hello?
basically a Bloody Mary.
Does that sound a little bit better? Let me know in the chat if that's a little bit better. Here, I'm going to adjust a couple things. I used to always have people tell me I'm quiet. Now I'm loud. Okay, that should be a little easier on your ears. Stu dead. But yeah, I'm happy to see Jen here, and Entertainment Wizard, and Jordan Talks Film. And Fairpoint Station.
What's up, Fairpoint?
Awesome. And Ben.
Ben's here.
Are you seriously? Now I'm kind of quiet. I should have listened to it myself. Okay, how's the volume? If I'm too loud or too quiet, let me know.
It's weird because we just streamed on my channel.
Yes. Hey, Strange Monkey. I love that guy. If you guys are not watching his channel, you are missing out.
Yeah. Strange Monkey is hilarious.
He is amazing.
Killed it at the Oscars.
All right, so how's everything sounding? Can I get some thumbs ups in the chat? Get me some thumbs ups. Get me some thumbs ups. And thumbs ups on the video too, while you're at it, while you're down there.
That thumbs up button.
Okay, thank you guys. All right, the go ahead. So, what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be starting from number 5, our lowest. I'm not going to say worst because there is not a bad movie in this franchise, and I want to stress that. Okay, I know this franchise is so good that, yeah, any one of these could be someone's favorite movie, and I would never tell you you're wrong. Never in a million years. This is just my ranking on what I personally enjoy the most to the least, and Danny's ranking, which is different than mine, from most to least. Like, we're not basket case. We're not attached at the hip. We have similar opinions.
Who's Belial? Oh, that's your middle name.
Oh,
so
I'm
Belial.
Belial. I'm always Belial.
You're Belial.
All right. So we are going to start with number 5. And of course, I would love your guys' as we go through each of these, I would love to hear your picks. So without further sto-do.
I hope Stu-doos show up in 6.
Oh boy. Yeah, actually, there's some exciting stuff happening over on Craven, something scary that we are all working on behind the scenes. Kind of a big Stew Train event that I'm really excited about. I don't want to spoil anything because it's not my place to release that information, but I am really excited about what he's planning.
Yeah, check out his channel because I'm always craving something scary.
I am too, and
the
whole Lethal Collective are amazing, and I'm glad to see my girl Ariel is here. She's always got my back. I love her. Okay, so here we go. Number 5. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Okay, I gotta fix it. You make all these things before a stream, and then you try to do it during a stream.
I'm drinking out of my Joe Bob tumbler.
I'm drinking out of my Joe Bob's tumbler.
He's gonna be having his new season on Friday.
I am so excited.
Just killing time while you do your tech stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I do machines. Okay, so... All right, number 5. How about I go first and then you?
Is that what you want the 5?
Huh?
Is that what you want the 5?
Yes, because I'm going to put the poster up as we say them.
Okay.
I know what I'm doing, man. I do know what I'm doing.
You go first.
Okay. Hey, and Ben is going to be seeing Matthew Lillard at Texas Frightmare this weekend. That's really cool. I met him at Crypticon. We both did. That was awesome. Can't wait to hear about that.
He gave Laws a free hat. And he whispered like some shaggy voice in his ear that he couldn't like legally do out loud for everyone.
Yes, he was so sweet to him. So sweet. Okay, so my number 5, please stay with the stream. Don't hate me. And guys, don't reveal your whole list yet. One at a
What's
time.
your number 5? Just tell us what your number 5.
Your number 5. Kevin, my buddy. Nice to see you here. My buddy from Haunted by Horror, another channel I highly recommend, guys. If you're not subscribed to Haunted by Horror, you are missing out on some great horror movie reviews. I love that he gets into those B movies. You know I love those. So that's my buddy. Okay, so I'm unpopular opinion here. Unpopular opinion. Uh-oh, not that one. Scream 5.
5 is 5 for you?
5 is 5 for me. Now, I know a lot of you guys love this movie. And again, no shade from me. This was a very well-made movie. Radio Silence is clearly passionate about this franchise. It was wonderful to see a lot of returning characters. I like, how some of their stories are progressing. But what held this one back for me is I feel like Sydney's story's been told. And I feel like what she did in here was kind of like a lighter version of what she did in 4. And her appearance in this movie doesn't happen until towards the end, and it really took away from everything they set up with their other characters. I liked Dewey. I'm not going to get into spoilers, but some stuff happened with Dewey that I wasn't crazy about. Gail was okay, but I feel like our legacy characters maybe didn't need to be in this one. And I did like all the Easter eggs, but it did get a little Easter egg crazy to the point that it kind of took away from the story. And what I really wanted from this is I feel like this franchise is built on strong characters. And the first Scream did a really good job of introducing us to Sydney and her what makes her vulnerable and what makes her strong. And I feel by the end of that movie, we all loved Sydney. And this movie just didn't quite do that for me in the same way. We get one moment with Sam where she's really talking about her backstory, and it just wasn't enough. I wanted a lot more. I think Tara would have been stronger as a main character, though I kind of wonder if they did what they did with Sam to establish that she has visions so that she can take a backseat in the next one and they can focus on Tara and make Sam more of a suspect. Those are just some theories. But yeah, I also don't like the darker tone in this. I know some people really like it. I loved the brutal violence. I loved the kills and the practical effects. But one thing I've always liked about Scream is it's kind of like a John Hughes movie turned slasher. It's got brilliant colors, savvy, smart characters, witty dialogue, and then you've got murder and mayhem. I love that mix of the two. This movie doesn't have that. It's more of a straight up slasher. And so yeah, I like this movie. I don't love it, but I definitely like it. I definitely agree that it's very well made, but for me, it is number 5.
My number 5 is Scream 3.
Oh no,
not
I keep kicking the wrong one. There
you
you go.
That is my number 5. Why? Because they had to completely rehaul and make this movie very last minute, because what they originally had was Matthew Lillard coming back as Stu and running like the killings from in prison. He was going to have some teenagers killers that he was going to be in charge of outside. They actually had to buy him out of his contract because that is how set they were on making that movie. But then, sadly, Columbine happened, and they had to scrap the whole thing. I mean, at least Lillard got paid, but even he says, I wish I was the bad guy in Scream 3. I don't like how they had to just kind of remake it into some weird Hollywood where they're on the set and you got, like, your fake, all the characters. I mean, it's not bad. I love Scream 3 in it as well. I don't think there's a bad movie in this franchise. This is just the most rushed I felt, and kind of one that they had to change everything just really on the fly. You got your Jenny McCarthy and stuff going on, and you got Jay and Silent Bob. And as funny as I like to laugh about Jay and Silent Bob being in this movie, when I saw this in the theater, that took me out of the movie. Like, I laughed about it, but I was like, oh, that just kind of took me out of everything. And I don't know, it's the least scary out of all of them for me. Like, I don't know. There's nothing frightening about this movie. So, this is my 5. I like it. I think that the whole franchise is good, where even the worst is still pretty, good. This never really jumps the shark on the franchise. We never go completely off the rails. This is just the one that I feel like drags along in the caboose. You also got the Ghost Mom. Though, as much as I don't like the Ghost Mom all that much, it does kind of verify my theory that Ghostface himself is a supernatural, entity that has been, created through the hatred of Sydney and her family. Originally they hated her mom, and then, it kind of went on to Sydney, and maybe it's gonna be passed down later. But it's like this. Well, even in 5, it's kind of passed down on like how they feel as stab movies are being like treated and represented. Like they want the stab movies to get back on track. So it's just this hatred has been caused and like manifested. And that's why all the Ghostface sound the same, talk the same, and act the same, even no matter it's like doesn't matter what your stature is and size and like all this other stuff. You act like Ghostface because you are possessed by this hatred. So that this having a ghost mom and then later on part 5 having a ghost Billy kind of like verifies that maybe there is something supernatural about Ghostface, and that's why even though he picks people who have this hatred in them, like possesses them. But anyways, yeah, 3, it was just kind of rushed and made like completely different, and I didn't connect a lot. Even like Dewey just being like, what's her name's like bodyguard and stuff. I don't know. I felt like we were just kind of going through the motions with this one. So 3 is my 5.
All right. So let's check in with the chat a bit before we go on to number 4.
It's like Ben agrees with me.
Uh-oh. I
5
need to
is
click more stuff.
Ben Grimm
I'm
says,
just clicking tons of stuff all the time.
Ben says that 5 it is number 5 is 3.
All right. So Ben, let's see. What did people pick for their number 5? Jordan says his number 5 is Scream 2. It's 4th objectively, but it's the least entertaining, but still a great course.
Like I said, there's a lot of the franchises, they go nuts, and some of them have really bad entries. I don't think Scream ever really gets that bad. Like, some are better than others, obviously, but I think, like, even the worst Scream movies are still pretty good. Like, on par. They just stay the course, at least. They don't get too far off the track.
Hey, Dino! Good to see you!
What's up, Dino?
And yeah, Ben didn't like put 3 at his lowest too. So now we're gonna go into number 4. And yeah, my number 4 is Scream 3. Hey, I didn't pick number 4. I broke my chain. So I actually think Scream 3 deserves more love. And since this one is so hated on, I'm really going to focus more on what I really think deserves more appreciation in this movie. This movie has, honestly, even though she's not in it as much as some of the other ones, this has Neve Campbell's best acting. She is phenomenal in this movie. It is also the perfect conclusion to her story arc. She starts as somebody who's very vulnerable and has really no idea the full story about her mother, and she grows to learn by the end of Scream 1 and Scream 2. She's really just trying to ignore things and push forward, and in this one she's gone from hiding to deciding that she's gonna face it, and she deals with those demons literally. I perceive her seeing her mom as a mental thing, like a mental break. She's been out by herself, and I think she's just having visions. I don't think it actually had anything to do with Roman. I don't think it's actually supernatural. I think she's having visions because she's had kind of a nervous breakdown, which is why she went off on her own. And she is having to confront those demons. She goes back to Woodsboro and she finds a set of her own damn bedroom. And not only that, she finds a set of what would have been the murder scene that she would have known from her mother's murder. And yeah, there's no escaping it this time. There's no denying it. There's no moving past it. There's just confronting it. And the way she does that really solidifies why she is my favorite final girl. You know, she faces that and she comes out the other side and she's stronger and she has these friends and she's trusting. The other thing I love about this franchise is the relationships. We finally get a good conclusion to the Dewey and Gale relationship. They get engaged at the end of this one. They realize, yeah, they're very different people, but where it matters, they connect. I love Parker Posey in this. I'm really glad that this movie didn't try to bring in another Randy. A lot of the movies do that. They should have just not killed Randy. There's your solution. But this movie, instead of trying to replace Randy, which, hey, I love Kirby. Mindy's okay. But, we keep getting these, substitute Randys. And this movie didn't do that. But it did give us a comedic relief character with Parker Posey, who is just adorable. And then you've got the guy who does the voice of Joe on Family Guy. I think he's pretty good. Calling Dewey Dewdrop. I really like a lot of this movie. I think the use of the ghost, the voice changer was different. This movie tried a lot of different things. And as opposed to Scream 2, which really just kind of copied the beats of the first one, though I do love that movie. This movie at least did something different. It's also the only one that doesn't have two killers at the end, which is surprising. My only caveat with that is I wish that Sydney had met Roman before the big reveal, because she's looking at him like, who the fuck are you? So it would have meant more had she met him, maybe not knowing that he's her brother, but had she met him at least as the director earlier in the film, I think that would have had a little bit more weight to it. This movie was also ahead of its time in some ways, and in a lot of ways it's really surprising because this is a Weinstein produced movie. Now, largely from what I've seen from the special features, Bob is primarily who they dealt with, not Harvey. But I mean, it is a Weinstein produced movie, and this movie was ahead of its time in that it discussed sexual violence in Hollywood. What happened to Sydney's mother is pretty horrific. And I don't feel like they jumped the shark. I feel like it merges well with a lot of the other things that they've introduced about Maureen Prescott. And it's pretty tragic. And I like that this movie addressed it in a way that that didn't minimize it. Like, it did it in a very good way. And yeah, like I said, it was ahead of its time in that respect. I don't know if I like how it kind of changes the motivations of Stu and Billy. But he does admit that they kind of went off and did their own thing. I do think those two villains are iconic on their own, and they didn't necessarily need to merge in there with that. But like I said, it's not perfect. I don't like the Jay and Silent Bob cameo. I think that's a little too goofy. Most of the cast is pretty forgettable. There's obviously a lot of rewrites, a lot of changes. It's a little jumbled. But what I do like about this is it does still have that merge of kind of like that John Hughes world with that slasher world. And I like that because it creates a movie that's really fun. The first two movies are so much fun. 4 is fun. 5 is just a slasher movie. It's not as much, it doesn't have that same like teen movie tone to it. Then I like that tone. This movie for me feels very Scooby-Doo. It's light on the violence, but it does have a good mystery, and there is a big reveal at the end. And I love Scooby-Doo. So yeah, I like this movie.
I like it too. Though, even if Sydney's mom isn't really supernatural, like you said, Jay and Silent Bob are in this movie, therefore this takes in the same place as the Kevin Smith universe, which has dogma, so there still is supernatural elements in this universe.
I also, I think we need to move past some of the really cheap knocks at this movie. Like, guys, come on, we can do better than just picking fun at Gail's bangs. She's even made fun of it at this point. It's an old dog to be kicking. We can move past that. I have nitpicky things about it too. I really hate that Creed song. But overall, this is a solid movie. This is an entertaining movie, and it's a movie that deserves more love than it gets.
I don't know. Even with bad bangs, Courtney Cox is still cool.
She's hot in this movie. Yeah. And yeah, the emotional core of this movie is good, and it's a great trilogy to end Sydney's arc.
So I don't think any of them jumped the sharks. I still like this one.
Even Gail, like she's gone from being somebody who's completely ruthless to somebody who's accepting a proposal at the end, who's a lot softer, who's able to say, yeah, you hate that book, and not say it in a way that's attacking. Like, she's come really far from where she was. And Dewey, like, he's they've all come very far from where they were. So yeah, I like this movie. It's good. But now I want to hear what Danny's number 4 is.
My number 4. This one is really hard between two of them, and I had to think about it a lot. Seriously, and I hate to say it, but number 4 is my number 4. Like, I don't know. I wasn't sure.
Let's hear it.
I had to watch 5 a few times and to really think about it, because I thought 5 was going to be my number 4, but no, number 4 is my number 4. It just is, because none of the legacy characters, once again, none of them die. Like, really... I don't know, like nothing happens in this, in a sense, at the end of this for any of the characters we care about. Like, you could skip 3 and go straight to 5. Not much has really happened. I mean, really, if you really think about it, not much has happened in between. All the legacy characters survived this. There was no really, it was kind of tame at the ending if you really think about it. I'm not a big fan of the CGI knife. It doesn't look that bad most of the time, but when they stabbed the one cop in the forehead, that looked kind of derp. But everything else was fine with the CGI knife, I guess. I'm not a fan of it. But also, I don't like her motivation. Not that I'm a big fan of the motivation in 5 either, so I had to kind of like weigh that. I mean, she kills her mom. She kills like everybody just because she's jealous of her cousin. Is it her cousin? Right.
Her cousin.
Yeah, it was her cousin. And yeah. There's just some things. Also, like when the killer throws what's her butt off the police station, somehow he manages to escape the police at the police station. Not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying it's not very probable. I like this movie. I'm just trying to think of why. I'm trying to justify why it's my number 4. That's why I'm saying bad things about it. But really, I do love this movie. I think it's great. These are just the things. I feel like 5 is in a sense, a retread of this, but has higher stakes, at least at the end. Like, stuff actually, it's all said, and the smoke clears on 5, things have changed. Smoke clears on this one, nothing really happened. I do like the lemon squares and how Dewey, and it's kind of like mirroring what's happening in real life with them at the time, too, because they really did just go through a divorce, and you feel that realism between their characters in this movie, even though they haven't separated completely, but they're getting there because of issues. But that kind of makes me sad, so I don't know. Yeah, I love Kirby though, and even though there's a good chance she might not technically be dead and she come back, this movie still kills her, and I felt like anyway, so until she comes back, she's dead. Until she does come back, she's dead because of this movie. Kirby was great. She was the best Randy knockoff that we've ever had. I don't know. This is my number 4. Like, it's really close though. I'm not saying like, oh, definitely my number 4. Like, I had to really like crack my head open on it.
Okay, so let's check in with the chat. What are your guys' number 4? Let's see. The mayor, good to see you. He wishes that Jay and Silent Bob had been the killers.
In part 5.
In part 5.
Yes, that would have been great. I mean,
Fairpoint Station had a good suggestion. He wants a PTSD Sydney film with her going through group therapy and getting on meds that work. That's good.
See, now that's what I think Alice should have been doing in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Jordan says Parker Posey was a much better character than Gail, to be fair. I loved her in that movie. I love Gail, though, too. And Kevin says Sydney's character arc in the first 3 was very cohesive, but I thought Gail and Dewey's relationship in 3 was kind of a step back before moving forward.
I agree.
Okay. So Jordan's number 4 is part 3. Mud's number 4 is 4. Kevin's number 4 is 5. And Ariel is also number 3. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our number 3 pick. Dun, dun, dun. Oh no, I turned them all on. Okay, number 3. And it's definitely not that one.
Number
no.
1 is Gory's
it
number 3.
It turned them all on. Number 3 for me is number 4. I kind of have a new pattern going on, huh? So I love part 4. I think, again, kind of like what I said about part 3. In a lot of ways, part 4 was well ahead of its time. It had constant live streaming well before that was really a thing. Live streaming was a thing, but the idea of people like wearing GoPros or people just vlogging all, their entire lives and stuff was not really a thing.
Certainly did it better than Halloween. Anyway, sorry.
So the fact that this movie had that was pretty remarkable. In fact, it even had catfishing before that had even developed a name. At the beginning of the movie, the girl from Pretty Little Liars, she's like, "You got punked," because there wasn't a word for it yet. When she sees the picture of Channing Tatum's abs. So in a lot of ways, this movie was well ahead of its time. It's very well written. Kevin Williamson is back in the screenwriter's chair. We got Wes Craven. My one thing, I don't mind the CGI knife because I honestly never notice it. I think the kills in this are really good. They're really bloody, really shocking, especially Olivia's death. That one really shocked me when I saw that one. The only thing I don't care for is I don't like the Vaseline on the lens, which Wes Craven did to give it kind of more of, I guess, a soap opera look. And I like the idea because I like the mishmash of things that are not horror with horror, like what he did with mixing kind of the John Hughes thing with a slasher movie. I don't really like how it looks. It's a little blurry, and I would have preferred a sharper looking film, but it does still have the vibrant colors. It does still have the tone. I do think Sydney's story was told, like concluded well at the end of 3, but they did find a way to bring her back. You know, now she's on the other side of it, and she's in a place to where she can be a mentor. She's published a book. She's here to help her cousin. So her arc is really over, but she's here in almost like an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of way that works really well. Gail is kind of fully on the other side of hers too. She's trying to, you know, write a new book and trying to find her place. So they found a good way of still continuing on her story. This, as far as like their relationship's taking a step back, I was a little sad that their marriage was having so many problems in this, but I do think it's entertaining. It's nice to see that Dewey is now the sheriff, that he's really just, you know, progressed through the ranks. I love Marley Shelton's character, and I love her lemon squares. She was a terrific addition to this cast. She's wonderful. I adore Kirby. Like, I honestly was really upset when they killed Randy, but I love Kirby. She's my favorite new character in this movie. I like how they did it a little bit differently, because one of the things that had changed, and the Scream movies are so good at commenting on the culture of horror. And at the time that in 1996, when Scream came out, it was kind of nerdy to be a horror nerd. Like, it wasn't cool. So It made sense that Randy was a dork. But we come around to Scream 4, it's now kind of cool. And so it makes sense that Kirby's like this sassy, cool girl who knows about horror movies. So it did, even though they did a copy of Randy, they did it in a way that commented on the change in the culture, which was really smart. I do like Emma Roberts as the killer. I think she's terrific. The way she kicks her own ass at the end is a thing of beauty. The other guy, the Culkin, he's a little more forgettable. And his motivation was the one that I didn't really care for. Like, I really did not care that he was just there for a girl. It made me sad that he betrayed Kirby. But I thought Emma Roberts was great, because there are a lot of people who do dumb shit to be famous. If they can't get famous by earning it through making good content or something, they're going to do it through something stupid. We've seen that. We've seen people, you know, put themselves in life or death situations. We've seen people even die trying to be famous by doing something stupid. And especially like, you know, in the 90s when we had like, you know, people like OJ and stuff who became like famous that way, and Scream 2 comments on that. We have it now with the internet. And I think it was good that they had a character who was trying to make this desperate grab for fame. She's also been subjected to hearing Sydney this, Sydney that, the Marsha of it all. So it makes sense that she would get kind of pushed to a point where she wanted that spotlight for herself, where she wanted to be the one who everyone, you know, felt bad for. I mean, even her mother is kind of like, you know, I have scars too. And they're like, we're talking about physical scars, lady. But I think this is a terrific movie. Oh my God. I also love, the guy who plays one of the cops. Actually, both cops were terrific, but I do love that guy. He's really fun. He's in Jennifer's Body and a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, there are a lot of great characters in this. I really do love this movie. Bye, Jen.
I also really like the opening of Scream 4, because it has all those stab endings. I like all those stab endings. Like I said, I had to kind of justify why it was low on my list, but I really do like this movie.
I like how the opening kind of helped establish the Stab universe, because now it's more than just 3 movies. Now it's been like 8, and they've had time travel, and I think that was a kind of a cool commentary on like how sequels kind of spin out of control when you get enough of them.
And shit. Like that kind of stuff. Like,
exactly. Adam Brody, thank you, Kevin, for getting me back. Yes, I adore that guy. He's great.
Fairpoint says he's wishes that Kirby just inhaled a killer, like Kirby from the video game.
Yes, actually, our cat's named Kirby, and I like to joke that it's after the Scream character, but our son named him after the Nintendo character.
Our son loves the character.
He adores him. He's playing the new game.
When's he gonna be in Mario Kart? Put Kirby in there.
What is your number 3? Oh wait, we did yours, did we? No, we didn't.
We have none of
no. What's your number 3?
5.
Okay. Did you want to say anything else about 4?
Like I said, I really did like it. I think it's great. And I love those lemon squares. Let's get back into 5.
All right.
All right. So 5 is
it's hard because you don't want to like go back into talking, but you know that we just move on. All right, here you go. So number 3 for Danny is Scream 5. And start getting those picks in for your number 5s. Hey, my buddy, the Movie Massacre Show's here.
So
Hey.
this was, like I said, very close between 4. I only pushed this one a little higher because when, like I said, the dust is all cleared and said and done, this has actually made changes. Where I feel like 4 didn't really do anything. Like, you could actually skip 4. As much as I love it, you could skip it, and really nothing has happened. This one actually does have some heavy changes. I think this is an amazing movie to Dewey. It's his arc finally coming to an end. It's not a happy ending, but someone needed to take that bullet. Knife, 2 knives.
He went out a hero.
Yeah, he went out a hero, but he got, like, I was into his story from the beginning of when they showed him. Still watching Gail on TV. He still loves her. They just are 2 different people to where they live in 2 different worlds. And he's been sadly disgraced.
Don't give us Ariel any spoilers.
Okay. Well, it's going to be kind of hard not to, but this is a great Dewey movie, and I love that about it. And like I said, there's like difference. It's not a very good Sydney movie though, I have to say.
I don't think so either.
I don't see why she really. Originally, she gets a call and she's like, "I'm not going back to that town." And I have kids and I have a husband, and that's how it should have actually just been. Honestly, it really doesn't make sense for her to show up. I know she does emotionally, but still doesn't make sense. Like, this kind of counter what she just said. You think she'd wait for the killer to be caught and then go and like pay her respects? But whatever. Despite the fact that Sydney's kind of shoehorned into this, I do like it a little more because it has some weight to it. Kills are great. There's some of the best kills in the whole franchise are in this movie. The killers, their motive is more related to Stab. Like they want to like make the Stab franchise get back on track. They're basically like, well, the Stab movies got ridiculous because there was no real kills for the Stab movies to be based off of. So they're gonna like make a good Stab movie by killing these people. And they're going after the real legacy characters of their original story. So I do kind of like that, but at the same time, it's kind of dumb. But whatever. We both called one of the killers each when we went and saw it. I had a good time. I just barely like this more than 4. I think 4 is great and probably better for a lot of reasons, but this is also just better for a lot of reasons because I feel like it had
There's no wrong answers.
I just felt like I said, there's more weight to this one, and that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want another play it safe, everybody lives at the end.
I will agree with you on that one. One thing I didn't like about 4 is I felt like there was no stakes. I did not feel like any of our legacy characters were in danger. And in this one, they did rectify.
Yeah, and they made it pretty clear, even though I went into it as blind as possible. In a sense, I didn't even watch like the biggest trailer they had for it at that point. I still had the feeling that this movie was going to kill one of them. And it did. So, as sad as that is, I'm glad because like now I felt like it didn't waste my time in a sense. I'm not saying 4 is a waste of time, but at the same, like I said, you could technically skip it and not much has happened. I love it. It's a good time. It's a great watch. It pays a lot of respects to the franchise, and I'm glad 4 exists. I do like 5 just a little bit more because now I feel like we finally are heading into some sort of direction.
Movie Massacre says Scream 5 seemed like a remake of Scream 4 with tweak things, and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do a whole lot different. I mean, even the motivation is very similar to what we got. I mean, yeah, it's a little different, but
that's why I'm saying it's so close for me. It's just I pushed how they end. Like I said, it's just, that's where my decision became. Like this one actually changed things. It's the only reason why it's better, in my opinion. Just
all right. So, what are people's picks for number 3 in the chat? I don't see any. Movie Massacres number 3 is number 2. And Fairpoint loves how they name dropped Dreadit. The Reddit obsessed person in me cheered. All right.
Also,
Jordan's number 3 is also Scream 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you ready to move on to number 2?
And there's some YouTubers in this one as well, or at least in Scream 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
Alrighty. Dun 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 dun.
So your number 2 is 2.
What?
Are we on your number 2?
We're on number 2.
It's got to be 1, right?
You don't know anything about me.
No, 1 was your number 4.
Don't act like you know me, because you don't.
I wish 1 was your 4. I'd be controversial. All right.
I think I've been controversial enough with my number 5 pick. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so I have an interesting relationship with Scream 2. I have seen every Scream movie in the theater on opening day, and this was one where I walked out pissed off. I was pissed. I was so upset that, and yeah, I'm going to give spoilers because this movie came out in like 1997. But I was pissed they killed Randy. I thought that was such a dumb move because he's the audience replacement character. And when you kill him off, you're just going to have to find a way to replace that character. You also need, in this franchise, someone to kind of tell you the rules. So I just thought that was such a misstep. And the way he died was so lame. I also I feel like Hallie didn't have a lot to do. I think they could have done more with her character, given her more to do than just be the "Are you okay, best friend?" Like she deserved more. And I hated the ending. I hated the ending. I thought having the sister from Roseanne be the killer was the stupidest thing ever. I don't think she was cast well for the part. I didn't buy her as Billy's mom. I was just pissed. But here's the thing. I rewatched this movie many, many times, and I can't help that I actually like have a good time, even though there are things about it that annoy me. And a big part of it is the atmosphere. Like the atmosphere makes a big difference for me. This movie has those bright colors, and it feels like a college movie that's also a slasher. And I love that merging of the two. There is some beautiful cinematography in here. I love like the scene with the stage play. I really like how it captures kind of that 90s aesthetic. We even have Sarah Michelle Gellar in here in a really great scene.
Buffy.
And I love Buffy. Yeah, and I love Jerry O'Connell in this movie. I think he's terrific. I really loved his character. I loved that it still takes time to have fun. Unlike some of the other ones like Scream 5 where it's just like, there's no fun part of Scream 5. Like there's no part where we're just having a good time. Everything is about it's a slasher movie. It's just a slasher movie. Whereas in this one, I mean, even Scream 1, a lot of the movies have a scene or two that's just fun. Like when Randy's telling you the rules in Scream 1. In this one, you have the scene where Jerry O'Connell's singing to her at lunch. Like, it's just fun. That's all it is. There's nothing scary about that scene. It's just fun. I love that they did so much more with Cotton in this movie because that's an interesting character. And to see that, obviously he'd want something for everything he was put through, either revenge or at least some validation. And I like that he's kind of swarmy in this, and you never know really what side of everything he's on. He's a very good suspect. And I've really come around to really liking Timothy Olyphant in this. At first, I was like, Mickey, what? Here's the other thing, too. I have come to terms with Randy dying. And it's not because Randy smarted off about Billy Loomis. No, that is not why he died. He unfortunately died because of horror nerd karma. Horror nerd karma is when you get so full of your own
ass.
Up your own ass about your horror knowledge that you start correcting people even when they're not wrong. That makes you a dick. All right. So, when Pacey in the film class says the aliens quote, he says it correctly. He says it absolutely correctly. And Randy corrects him. That is a fatal flaw. That is as fatal a flaw as any of the rules. Like, maybe not having sex won't, keep you alive anymore. Maybe abstaining from drugs and alcohol won't keep you alive anymore. But, dude, correcting someone on horror movie trivia when you are wrong? Oh, that will get you killed.
Game over, man.
Game over, man. Randy was wrong, and that is why he died. And that is why I'm okay with it. And that is why I allow myself to place this one at number 2 because I have a wonderful time watching this every time I saw it. It still has that great meta humor. It still has that great social commentary and stuff. I think the opening with Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps is terrific. It's really scary. They make some great comments about movies. I love that it introduced us to Stab, which really stretched this universe out into so many more fun directions. Yeah, this movie is a lot of fun.
I agree. This is actually my number 2, so you can leave that poster.
Wow.
For most of the same reasons you just said. The problem with it is I didn't like the Aunt Jackie killer. I laughed. I love her on the Norm Show. I loved her in Roseanne, but this is just not. This is kind of like how Jack Black felt in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Just felt miscast. Like I love Jack Black. That was a bad thing. I feel like Aunt Jackie in this, just not her role. I wasn't.
It's nothing against her because I love her in like the Norm Show.
Yeah,
I just didn't didn't think she was good in this role.
This is just not what she should play. I didn't mind her in the movie as like kind of Gail's little like, but as the killer, no, I didn't mind. I didn't like that. Also, Randy going out the way he went out. I thought that was kind of a punk ass way to die, Randy. I feel like he deserved a little bit better than that.
It was originally worse. It was actually Jamie Kennedy's idea to show the body reveal with all the blood and stuff. Like originally, he was just kind of killed like off screen.
Oh yeah, no, I'm glad they at least showed how he died, but I just pulled into the van with his back to it.
Like I think there was going to be a body reveal, but it wasn't going to be bloody or anything. It was just going to be kind of a quick little thing, and then Gail screams, and he's like, "No, no, make me bloody."
I don't know. He just gets pulled into the van kind of like a noob, and I feel like he should have been done a little better than that. But it's all right.
It's fine when you remember that that he broke a cardinal rule.
Yeah.
So he was dead anyway.
Exactly. I just think they should have killed him a little better.
That's how I've learned to deal with it. But yeah, I think he would have known better than to go by a strange van.
Yeah, with his back to it.
But you know, he's so big on correcting people and incorrectly correcting people about aliens that obviously he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings.
Exactly, and that sucks. But I just feel like Randy should have got a little better than that. But other than that, I still really love this movie. I feel like it's not much different than the first one, but in the best ways. Like they kind of gave you all the stuff that you wanted from the first one, but then this is actually the one I didn't see in theaters. It's the only one I never saw in theaters. Saw it on VHS, sadly, and I wish I would have saw it in theaters. I'm like, oh man, I should have made it more of an effort to go see this one.
Could have met me there.
Yeah, I could have.
I think honestly, with your first sequel, though, you kind of need to follow the beats of the first one, because if you go too different with it, you turn fans away.
Exactly.
And I think they did enough different that it was good. I just think, and I think Scream 3 did enough different. But we've kind of gone back into falling into the same patterns as the first movie.
But yeah, the opening in the beginning is great. Up the body count just a little bit. Basically everything you want from a slasher for the most part, like sequel. Mentioned Sarah Michelle Gellar, great in this. She even wanted to do her own stunt where she gets thrown off, but they wouldn't let her for safety reasons. But she did a lot of her own stunts and bodies, so she was down for it. And she seemed like she had a lot of fun in this. I just like seeing her. The last thing she recently did was Alexa Bliss's wedding. So, but I would love to see her.
Actually, the last thing she probably did was Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah, he was there too. He needs to be killed in a Scream movie.
He really does.
He hasn't.
I wish he was skilled in Scream 3 because it's so Scooby-Doo-ish.
Right? They should definitely bring him in and kill him on one of these movies. But yeah, I just liked it. I like part 2 a lot.
Fun fact, originally the beginning of Scream 4 wasn't that opening. It was Kristen Stewart. And she was like, "You want me to do the Drew Barrymore thing?" She's like, "I can't do that." I'm like, "No, that's too much." And she turned it down, and then they came up with the other one.
Well, I'm kind of glad then.
I like the Scream 4 opening, but no, kill Freddie Prinze Jr. Actually, have they? They've never had like a dude in the opening.
Well, I mean, part 2 you get kind of both.
You get kind of both, and you have Steve in part 1, but like where a guy is the focal character.
Yeah. So anyway, 2 not quite as good as 1, but I still really liked it and it made me excited for the franchise. 3, sadly, I saw that in theater and I was a little let down, but like I said, I still like 3 a lot. I don't dislike any of these movies. Just comparing them to each other, like some just aren't as good as the other ones. But this one, even though it is Aunt Jackie, like I said, it was the actress, I just didn't like that ending. I do get the motivation, obviously.
The motivation makes total sense,
yeah.
and I actually like Mickey's motivation too, because it was very 90s with all the court cases and stuff. Like that's where they had to stop doing that, because you could murder someone and become very famous very fast, and in some cases even still get away with it.
Yeah, that's why in real life I think they should really downplay the mass shooters.
I think some people are trying to, but it still makes the headlines.
But that's why a lot of serial killers, like, we don't talk about them much anymore, because
we still have serial killers. They just don't make news because too many people try to do it to be famous.
Exactly, and I'm glad that they've cut down on that. So anyways, let's hear number 1. I wonder which one it is.
Checking in with the chat really quick. Ryan Ho is here.
Ryan Ho, he says 1, 2, 4, 5, 3.
I every time I read his name, I think of the Thundercats. Like I think like Ryan Ho.
Well, when you said it like that, yeah. But then also I think of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ho.
No, Thundercats is better. Ryan, tell us which one you like better.
You like Thundercats or wrestling more?
Ryan's number 2, we're on 2, yes, is number 5. The Movie Massacre
Or is it
Show.
the other way around?
Oh, shoot, I don't know.
I think because number 1's probably his number 1.
Oh,
so-
yeah. So his number 2 is number 2.
Could be wrong.
Pardon me. Movie Massacre Show would have preferred seeing Randy die in Scream 3. It would have been great seeing the film buff on a film. That would have. Now I really want to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one, Rich.
Ben says number 2 is his number 2. Alec or
Strange Monkey wants to know if we're fans of the Scream series. Lulz and I actually watched the first 2 seasons, and I mean, it doesn't compare to the movies. I kind of watched it as a separate thing. I actually have a review of season 1 over on Horror Addicts, and we enjoyed it. I didn't finish it though. I wasn't super invested in it.
I wasn't a big fan of the first 2 seasons. They go together. Scream, this 3rd season is its own entirely different story, but they brought back the mask, and as cheesy as it is, I do like the 3rd season. Like, it's not perfect. It's not as good as these movies by any means, but I actually do kind of like that 3rd
I need to
season.
watch them because I've heard it's really good.
But I do like it.
Because it was hard for me because they got a new cast of characters and stuff.
Brand new
like,
cast of characters, but
so
they
it's
brought
like a new
back the
show.
Ghostface. It is. It's basically its own
And
thing.
I never watched the special they did. They did like a special with the cast. I never watched that either.
Yeah.
I do want to finish it. I did enjoy it.
I kind of like them. I kind of don't. Like the first season of the first series, I guess, because they're 2 different stories. Season 1 for me was kind of like MTV's Undressed, but with a killer.
I agree. Someone said this in the chat. I agree that it does get better with season 2.
Yeah. Season 1 was not very good. Like I said, it was like MTV's Undressed, but there's a killer. And then season 2 was a little better of that same cast of characters. And then season 3 is completely different, but I did enjoy it a little bit more.
And Harsh Truth puts number 5 at number 2. Good to see you. And yeah, Scream 2 is also really easily rewatchable. Like, I do like Scream 3. That one's not as rewatchable for me as like Scream 1 or 2. But yeah, Scream 2 it's so easily rewatchable. It's just like, for me, it's just a comfort movie at this point. All right, so number 1, I imagine we have the same one, yes?
I think so.
Wow, way to copy, Dan. I did just be a big copycat. So my number 1 is Scream 1. So this is a movie, like, y'all gotta understand where little Gory was when this movie came out. So I was just starting out high school, and I was kind of bummed because, like, I grew up on horror movies. I grew up on slasher movies. And what do these movies have? They have freaking teenagers, right? I'm finally a freaking teenager, and there's no slasher movies in the cinema. Like, I mean, there was American Wolf in Paris, there were some other horror movies, but there was no slasher movies. I'm like, wait a second. I'm at the prime of my life now, where I was supposed to get killed by somebody in a mask, or at least watch a lot of movies about, that happening. But no, there was nothing, because the franchises had run slashers into the ground. And then I remember reading in Fangoria about Scream, the new Wes Craven movie. It was going to be a straight up slasher, but it was going to do some different stuff. And I was so excited. I told all my friends, like, because at first, like, it didn't really get a lot of buzz. It came out around Christmas time. There wasn't a whole lot of trailers and stuff for it. And so at first, like, a lot of people weren't really talking about it, but my friends and I went to go see it. And then it's one of those rare movies where it actually did better its second week. And it did better its third week. And it's just because word of mouth got out. People saw it. People loved it. Even people who are not horror fans loved this movie. And it's one of those rare movies where, yeah, each week it did better and better until it was breaking records. And it was so exciting to not only have a slasher movie back on the big screen, but to have a slasher movie out that even mainstream audiences agreed was great. Like, a lot of the movies I like, I tell my friends about, and they're either like, huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Or they're like, oh, that's kind of a stupid movie. But this was one that everybody loved. And it was so, I mean, it's fun to be like a part of something like that. And I was really excited. The opening is, I think, one of the best openings of a movie ever. I mean, that opening of the movie is phenomenal. I was also a huge Drew Barrymore fan, and I love that. I think she's great, and I think it was a great move to kill her. I actually was really excited about Neve Campbell in this just because I had seen her in The Craft and Ski Ulrich. So, and that's, The Craft was one of my favorite movies. So yeah, this was just so much fun. I mean, you guys love this movie too, so I don't need to tell you why it's good. But just the cast is so good. The characters are so good. Sydney is such a unique final girl in that she's tough and she doesn't have to follow the stupid rules or whatever. She's tough, but she also is vulnerable, and it's really hard to have a character that's both and that balances it so well. And she's smart. I mean, she's somebody where a lot of these main characters in movies, sometimes they're kind of blank slates that you can kind of put yourself in their role. But Sydney is still her own person while still being somebody who's entirely relatable. I love Tatum. I think she's the most adorable best friend. I love when she's got her little bunny and she's like, yeah, Sydney, super badass, super bitch. I love that. I love that. Dewey is so cute. Like, just this kind of, I don't know, dorky little whatever. Trying to be like the big cop guy, but he's still growing up. Like, he's not, like Britney Spears said, like, he's not a boy. Not yet a man. Like, I love it. I love Gail Weathers. Like, I love how she almost didn't get this part either because they thought nobody would buy her in this role. But originally they wanted Janine Garofalo for it, and she turned it down. But I'm really glad because I think I can't talk anymore. Courtney Cox is phenomenal in this movie. She's so great. Like, even though she's a fucking awful person, you can't help but love her. And in a way, it puts us in Dewey's position because he kind of falls in love with her, even though he knows she's maybe not the best person. But there's something in her. Like, you can see it, even without them telegraphing it through really bad dialogue, because the dialogue in this is phenomenal. You can see it. You can see that there's something in her that you love, that you want to see more of. You know, Randy, Billy, Stu. There's not a bad character in this movie. I even like the weird baseball hat guy who's at the party. I love everybody in this movie. I love the principal. I love Woodsboro. This is a perfect movie. 5 stars. There is honestly, okay, I have one minor complaint. One minor complaint, but it doesn't take away from the masterpiece that is Scream. I do wish when they find Dewey at the end that he would have asked where his sister is, because I think Tatum deserved a little more mourning at the end. I mean, Sydney sees her body. I understand Sydney's going through a lot of shit, so she doesn't have a lot of time to be super upset about it. But Dewey doesn't know that his sister's dead. So I do wish he would have been like, where's Tatum? Just throwing that in there. But I understand they changed the ending last minute. He was originally going to die. But this movie, the soundtrack is so good. There's a reason they keep bringing Red Right Hand back. I also love that they have Republica on here. They have a great score. It's filmed beautifully. It's filmed like a John Hughes movie. And then you got great gore. I mean, everything. There's so much attention to detail in this film. This movie's perfect. This movie is absolutely perfect. And the writing style in this inspired a whole decade of like these Kevin Williamson movies and also Kevin Williamson knockoff movies with just these really smart characters and witty dialogue. And I just adore it. It's wonderful. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I cannot say enough good things about it. Danny.
As for Tatum, like, I guess one of my complaints against Scream 2 is they didn't show Dewey really mourning her. Like, I think, honestly, the most mourning he really did for her is in Scream 5. Like, they kind of show that he has the ashes of her, but
they shouldn't have waited till Scream 5 to mourn Tatum. That's his baby, his little sister.
But I love Rose McGowan in this. Like, Tatum, she is great. I saw this when I was a young teenager. But this was actually the first movie I saw in the drive-in after not living there anymore. Like, I used to live at the drive-in. I watched all these movies like Jason Goes to Hell and Jurassic Park out my window, seeing them. Like, then I didn't live there anymore, and then it took a couple years. This movie came out, and it came out months. I missed it in the theater. Like, it went to the drive-in a few months later, like when the weather got warmer. But it did so well that they brought it back. Like, okay, even though this was months ago in the theater, we're still gonna have it at the drive-in, and that's when I finally got to see it. And yeah, I loved it. I mean, I was watching the Child's Play movies and the Candyman movies, so I didn't feel like I missed any like real horror. But yes, I remember the buzz from the mainstream caring a lot more about this movie than they usually do about horror movies. So that was kind of cool to see that, and with good reason. This did a great job. Like, I didn't know who the killers were. Wasn't even expecting 2 killers at the end. I was like, oh shit, and I thought, well played.
Yeah, that was a big shock. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And it was so clever because it was done to dupe horror movie fans. Because we know whoever's the most obvious suspect, it's not them. So I was like, they're really pushing Billy. It's definitely not Billy.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, they made it like pretty clear that it's so. But then someone was killing when Billy couldn't have been killing. And I didn't think to. I don't know why. It never like occurred to me while I watched it the first time. That
it was mind blowing, dude.
And when they like even had Billy's like cell phone. I'm like, what is he, Zach Morris? But like, because nobody had cell phones so much back then. Like, so I thought it was really cool. The Ghostface character, like his voice,
Oh,
voiced
yes.
by he's been voiced by him the entire series. That's what I
Mojo
love about.
Jojo.
Yeah, the guy that does Mojo Jojo's voice, and he did the whole series. But this introduced.
Richard.
I don't want to say it right now.
What? Someone tell us in the chat. What's his voice again? It's like Richard or something.
Mojo Jojo's voice.
Drawing a blank. Help us.
He created. That's why, even though it's always been a different killer, he is Ghostface as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
Because
I agree.
That's why I said, like, I feel like they're all possessed because they all sound and talk like him, and like, even how would they do that? But he made it.
He's responsible for a lot of wasted money, because how many of us have bought a Ghostface voice changer and then been upset that it's not that voice?
Yeah, it's not exactly like him. Like, you're close.
Roger L. Jackson, thank
Yes.
you, my friend. Thank you. It was like on the tip of my tongue. Thank you.
I should have known the L. Jackson. I usually remember the L. Jackson part. Samuel L. Jackson.
It's the
Roger
weekday.
L.
I work today. I'm
Exactly.
tired.
I was refreshing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for my stream today. But yes, anyways, L. Jackson, amazing job. He is Ghostface, and that became an iconic character, right up there with Freddy and Chucky and all those other slashers who talk. Even though he's over the phone and he's a different killer technically every time, he is why that is an iconic killer.
He's to Ghostface like what Brad Dourif is to Chucky.
Yes, exactly. It's a voice, but it's a voice that sticks with you and it haunts you. And how many times I wish I could call with a real voice changer and do that voice.
Do you hear what the movie Massacre said?
Huh.
Roger L. Jackson will be at Crypticon?
Ooh.
I haven't heard that, but now I'm super
I
excited.
know an autograph I'm getting.
Yes.
Too bad I can't get a voice autograph.
Maybe you can record him.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways,
You could get him to introduce your show.
I loved New Nightmare. But this did what New Nightmare, like, it took it even to another level. of
Yeah,
that
even
meta.
Friday the 13th Part 6 had a bit of meta humor in it,
Mhm.
but this was like the first, like, I mean, there's Student Bodies and other ones too,
Oh, yeah.
but this was the first one that was really mainstream with it.
Like I said, this is Wes Craven did, since he did New Nightmare and this one, that's why I compare them to. He dabbled with meta, but then he's like, all right, let's just go all in with it. Let's jump into the deep end and see if it swims or sinks, and it swam crazy. I love this movie. It's great. I don't think any of the sequels are ever gonna top it. I don't go into like when we went and saw part 5, like this better be as good as the original. I don't have that mind frame. Keep it good.
Yes.
The franchise has always been good. Keep it good. Don't fall off. None of them are probably gonna ever top this, and I don't go in expecting them to do so because damn, you lightning struck with
This
one.
is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. It's our generation's Halloween.
And being a young teenage boy, Tatum in that sweater, cold or excited, I'm not sure, but
I was excited.
It made me excited.
I was definitely excited.
And just Matthew Lillard, great.
I also wanted to see if I could squeeze through a dog door, and I can, and also she can.
And Matthew Lillard said he kind of just made up his motive on the
Yeah.
fly. And it is as silly as it is, like if you tell people that's his motive, it doesn't sound good. If you watch the movie and when he says it, I don't have a problem with it.
But see, here's the thing. I think Stu is smarter than he lets on.
Mhm.
Casey was his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Tatum is his current girlfriend. I think he's smarter than he let even Billy know.
Mhm.
And so I think the peer pressure thing is just kind of like playing into the kind of like the dumb blonde thing.
I think he just didn't want to admit like his real reasons and his feelings.
I think his real reason is he's got kind of a thing for Billy.
Maybe, or he just
I mean, like obsessed with him and like wanting to do whatever he does and stuff, you know?
it might be that, or he's just kind of a bitter towards the women that are in his life. Who
Also,
knows?
here's my other theory on Stu, which I've talked about this stuff before, but I feel like Stu, like if you look in the background on the whiteboard, it says like it's his birthday when he has that party, and his parents are out of town. Like it says like happy birthday, we'll be back, and it's like, damn. So he may be rich, but he seems like a really lonely guy, and it seems like Billy was the one person who really paid attention to him, who really knew him. And I think he would have done anything for Billy. But I also think that he's driven by this desire to be seen, to do something that's going to make people notice him, because I think he is somebody who feels very ignored.
Yeah, and when he gets dumped, well, that's killing you might just be part of that enjoyment. So-
Yeah, like Movie Massacre says too. He's smarter than he lets on. He just likes acting goofy. It's a kind of a way to diffuse it so nobody takes it seriously. But
Mhm.
if you look at like the stuff he's been saying throughout the film, like he's pretty dark.
Yeah, I think that when he gives her that explanation, like maybe there's some truth to that because, like you said, he's really into Billy and like is peer pressure from that, but also,
But I do think he loves Billy, if not romantically, at least like a brother, because
yeah,
that's who saw when the person who sees you when you're invisible. That's like sandbox love. That
exactly.
you'll go to the grave for that.
And
person.
therefore, peer pressure does count because that would be peer
Yes.
pressure from Billy.
And so, yeah, I guess in a sense, it's right.
But I think like there is more to why they killed certain people, the way they especially killed certain people, and yeah, I think he's not gonna fully admit to that. Like that's just not in his character to fully give you his James Bond. Wow, this is why I do things. He
But,
doesn't want you to.
Yeah,
know.
I really hope we see him in another movie, just because I think that there is more to say about that character. I think that there's more to do with that character, and I personally don't feel like we got to do enough of them.
Yeah, and I know a TV on the head could kill you, but the fact that we almost got
People
him
have
for
also
three,
survived it though.
exactly, it doesn't necessarily.
And they found a way to bring Billy back. There's other ways to bring a character back. So
Mhm.
I just think that there's more story to tell.
Yeah, Billy got one right between the eyes, so that made sense why he's a
And he
ghost.
came back as a ghost.
Exactly. So I just want Matthew Lillard, and technically he's been in like almost all the movies, just as hidden in the background. But I want him to come back as
Hard
Scream.
at me. Ariel's number one pick is Scream 2.
Well, there you go. And
So
I
see?
like Scream 2 a lot. So that was a great sequel. We mentioned our little nitpicks with it, but
I don't know what TIL means because I'm not hip, but Sandbox Love, if you watch Jennifer's Body, it's just somebody that you've grown up with that you would do anything for. It's somebody that you go way back with.
back to the
Back when you were
sandbox.
children, back when you were like,
You're playing in the sandbox.
yeah, when you're at a more innocent time. That's Sandbox Love.
Anyways, I don't think it was a big shock what our number ones were.
But I mean, yeah, like I said, there is no wrong answer. Ariel's is number 2. I think that's a great pick.
No.
I know for some people it's number 5. There is no wrong answer, and that's what's wonderful about these films is, I think most people just enjoy this franchise, and so it's kind of fun to hear what people's different ranking of them is. But it's like ranking your damn children. I mean, we love them all. And it's because they're phenomenal.
Honestly, even with other like horror franchises, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a wrong answer. I might find those to be like, for me, there's a bigger difference in the gaps of quality. But in this one, I think they're very close. As long as you don't have number one at like the real bottom, if you do, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I might really want to pick your brain on.
Yeah,
why.
I would want to hear your reasoning, and I would probably just assume like my rankings for mine is just because you really love one of these movies.
But even our son's friend came over, and he didn't like part one because of how outdated it was, I guess, and he thought it was silly. Like he thinks the newer ones are better, probably just because. And honestly, I don't know. That's why. Like some people are like that. My cousin Undead Jess thinks Halloween Resurrection is his favorite Halloween movie, and that's like my least favorite one. But it's the first one he saw, and therefore he has that nostalgia.
A lot of people have that. It's like the first one you saw is going to strike a chord with you in a different way. I've watched all these movies in the theater in order, but yeah, though my son's friend, I did make him rewatch the first one. And I'm like, it's good, right? It's good, right?
Yes, Corey, it's good. I don't want the hose again.
And then we watched Scream 5.
Yeah. No, like I said, I love all these movies. Hopefully you like them, but other than that, I don't think you're wrong. No matter which one is what order you have them in.
All right, well, that is our rankings. Very good rankings, Danny.
Thank you, Gory.
Thank you, baby.
Everybody in the chat, I liked hearing.
I liked all your rankings too. You guys had great stuff to say about these movies. And yeah, Jordan says Scream 6 genuinely could be better than the first. There's a legitimate window for it. I absolutely think that if they really focus on what they are doing with the franchise, their characters, their mythology, they can make something really special. I'm excited for Scream 6.
Axel said that this was the hottest cast ever. And well, yeah, I agree. Though it's funny because David Arquette and Rose McGowan, they did this for their brother and sister. But then very shortly after they did a Ready to Rumble where they get it on. So it's like as funny as it is, that wasn't so hot.
And Jordan's number 2 was Scream 4, and I missed it. I'm sorry, Jordan. Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have a different one for number 1 than Scream 1, I'd love to hear that too. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening to our thoughts and sharing your thoughts and just being part of this Scream Love Fest we got going on. I'm feeling it. The Scream Love Fest. Da-da-na-na. Stew.
And by killing Drew Barrymore, that was a very psycho move, like a very
Adore her.
misdirection. So
Yes.
I think that was a good call. Wes made a great call with that.
All right, guys, and you know where to find Danny. He is over on Horror Addicts. Just type in Horror Addicts TV and all of the things. I will add it to the description below, but you can find it in my featured channels on my channel, and I'm on there all the time too. We just did a review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre if you want to check that out. But Danny, he'll be back soon because he lives here. So I also think I might do another kind of Scream ranking, maybe with the ghost faces when my buddy craving something scary soon. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I got coming your way, because I got some good stuff coming. Some stuff you might like. All right, and until we meet again, blessed be. Was that good? I was trying to yawn at the end.
And it was great.
Perfect.